Merry Christmas and welcome to the Hallmarkies podcast. And we are very excited today because we are celebrating Christmas in Germany today. We are talking about a Heidelberg holiday on Hallmark Channel, and it's going to be real fun. And I'm film critic Rachel Wagner, and Megan is here.
Hello.
And we're so excited because we not only have a real life German here with us to break down this movie, but he is a German Christmas podcaster. And Lasse Vogt is here. And thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Hi, I'm Lasse Vogt. I'm very, very honored to be here. I still can't believe it.
Yeah. So fun. You've been on my show on Rachel's Reviews a couple times. We usually talking about really bad movies. So I'm glad to have you on talking about fun holiday film instead. But for this is your first time on the pod, why don't you introduce yourself to the audience? Tell them a little bit about yourself.
I'm sure, as we already established, I am a German podcaster who also speaks a little bit of English. And I should, because I have a lot of international projects, and one of them, which might be of most interest to the people listening, is It's a 90s Christmas podcast, which I co-host with Lyle Perez. It's currently on a break, but we will soon re-emerge, I hope, as soon as we figure the new schedule out. But it's a very, very fun show. You can find it anywhere. Check it out. It's fun. It's family friendly for the most part. You should really give it a try. And my other podcast projects I can mention later.
All right, very good. And the Christmas podcast, that's in English?
Yes, it's an English podcast.
Good. Well, what have you always been a big Christmas person?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Happy Christmas memories started early on in my childhood.
Yeah.
For obvious reasons, but no, yeah, I mean, I like my family, I like presents, I like the festive spirit, and I like Christmas. Yes, and I like Christmas movies, so
yeah.
I'm kind of an easy mark.
Yeah. How close are you to Heidelberg as far as where you are in Germany?
It's pretty far from where I am currently now. I live in Hamburg, but I've been there a couple of times because I had an aunt who lived there. But I rarely saw the actual kind of old city which this movie takes place in. So it's I don't have like the best memories when it comes to the layout and everything, but I have fond memories visiting the place at least.
Okay, good. Oh, that's good. This movie, it is a Heidelberg holiday. It's directed by McLean Nelson, who's done like a ton of these, written by McLean. And it stars Gina Claire Mason and Friedrich Brossier in our leads. And it is Heidi heads to the Heidelberg Christmas market to sell her hand-painted ornaments. While there, she falls for a local artisan who helps her reconnect with her lost heritage. So, Megan, overall, what do you think of this one?
I thought it was nice and cute. I thought it was good. I liked the leads. I thought I liked her in her movie last year. I thought she was good, and yeah, it was fun. And I knew nothing about this market, so yeah. I liked it. What about you?
Did you see Christmas in Vienna in I think it was 2020?
I did, I'm sure, because I watched everyone in 2020, but because I had nothing else to do. But I don't really. Oh yeah, Christmas in Vienna. Okay, yes, I do remember that one. Yeah,
a million times, in my opinion. Even though I love Sarah Drew, no end. I love her. This was so much better than Christmas in Vienna, just as a comparison, in my opinion. And and this one, a lot of times the destination Hallmark movies they just fall flat on the story front. The stories are no good, but like the places are great. But I'd rather just watch Travel Channel. And in this one, I love the story. I thought it was sweet, like all the different days of nativity and Advent, and I mean, I am a sucker for a grandma plot, because I had such a special relationship with my grandma, and just everything with the Oma. Oh, I loved everything with the Oma, and I thought that they were pretty good together. And we get a pretty early kiss in this one, and it was like a kiss. I was like, and so overall, I mean, it gave me a new reliance on the German postal system. I mean, if I am ever sending anything to Germany, I am using the German postal service, not whatever weird service she used. But I overall I enjoyed it. Let's see, what did you think overall? What did you think of it?
I had a good time with it, actually. I'm not that familiar with most Hallmark type movies, but of course, like we have, at least when it comes to American ones, like we have our own type of Hallmark movies. I think every country
Sure.
has the type of film, and so I've seen a fair share in terms of German films of this sort. But as like being for what it is, I thought it was pretty charming and nice, and I was very positively surprised that they actually went there and shot in Heidelberg. I was kind of pleasantly surprised, because I don't know what I was expecting, but like my worst fears would have been that they found like an obscure American town and half-heartedly dressed it up and then used a lot of green screen.
Yeah.
That didn't happen here.
Yeah. They do that a lot. It's usually a Canadian town. They make Vancouver into a lot of locations.
Yeah, your fear was founded. Like there's a reason why you thought that, but I was glad they didn't do that too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was incredibly surprised by how much German was actually spoken here also.
Yeah. Because she's learning, and as she's there, she gets more and more comfortable, because that was one nice thing, is that she was there. I don't know how many, it was a longer trip than a lot of these, a lot of it's these whirlwind, kind of a thing. And she was there like for, was it like a month? It was a while.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
That she was there. So that made like the romance a little more like believable, and how did you feel that they did as far as portraying like German culture, and particularly is the like St. Nicholas Day and stuff like that, is that kind of as big a deal as they made it out to be in the movie there in your experience?
Not quite in my experience, but I think that different German states and areas have different Christmas traditions, and so it wouldn't surprise me if in that part of town, or in that part of the country, I should say, they have that kind of thing. Usually with the St. Nicholas thing, you get just sweets, chocolate, and all that stuff in your boots. But it can be it can be something different, certainly. I think it also depends on what kind of traditions the family itself has. And so I had absolutely no problem that it was a little bit more expanded on in this one. And I was actually very pleasantly surprised that they didn't really rely that much on stereotypes when it comes to characters. It's just, they just seem like a very, very nice, big family, which also has a little bit of a international connection, because the husband of a one woman certainly isn't German, and so that is of course convenient. So the kids can also speak English, and that is all fine. That is all completely possible. And no, but I like that they. The furthest they got was just at the very first meal they eat schnitzel, and that's it. And that is also completely plausible that they would do this.
Dumplings and schnitzel. And if people listening have never had schnitzel, what is schnitzel?
It is a type of meat that is fried in a kind of like it's kind of like battered like fried chicken in a way, but with a certain type of like pretty much like a bread crust and all of that, like whatever, and mostly it can be it can be like mostly they use a pig meat, or they use what could it be, like a chicken a lot, but
or like pork,
but it for the most part it's actually a calf.
Ho, ho, ho. We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast, especially at Christmas?
Do you enjoy the holiday previews, recaps, interviews, and bonus episodes?
If the answer is yes, please consider supporting the Hallmarkies Patreon. We need your help to do what we do both during the Christmas season and all year round.
But not only do you help a podcast led by strong, independent women by becoming a Patreon, you get to become a part of the Hallmarkies family.
Starting at only $2 a month as a patron, you will have access to our Facebook Patreon group where we talk about the movies, shows, and more all year.
We also have many monthly patron watch-alongs with guests like Lacey Chabert, Natalie Hall, Paul Campbell, Mary Lou Henner, and more, giving their behind-the-scenes details of their films.
As a patron, you also have the chance to provide input into the podcast and even join us at different tiers.
So this Christmas season, spread some cheer to the Hallmarkies Patreon and become a member today. You won't regret it.
Go to patreon.com/hallmarkies to learn more.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
Like a family meal that you have at Christmas? Tradition?
We absolutely do. Yeah. On Christmas, because in Germany, we celebrate Christmas on the 24th. So we unwrap the gifts on the evening of 24th. And so the whole 24th is Christmas Day. And on for lunch, we have some type of like a pasta meal, which is pretty much like a pasta with bolognese, and it's like in a big pot and with baked with cheese. So that's
like a ziti kind of sort of thing.
Pretty much.
Ziti, yeah.
But that's and for dinner on Christmas Eve we have meat fondue. And yeah, but of course, like everybody in certain areas of Germany, they eat actually like potato salad with Vienna sausages. That's certainly something I've seen. But the traditional like Christmas goose we eat on the 25th.
Okay. Well, so my family, we actually, because my last name's Wagner, and so we actually have a German meal that we traditionally have for. I mean, it's Americanized German, but we have on Christmas Eve, where my mom makes sausage sandwiches, and then she makes sauerkraut that she boils in apple juice like all day, like low simmers. So it's got that like sweet tart, kind of a thing going on. It's so good. And then she makes, like you're saying, potato salad. She makes some German potato salad with bacon and in it, and it's so good. And it's a very heavy meal to like think about it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Only once a year you can have it, but it is tasty. And then we have not meat fondue. We have chocolate fondue for for the dessert, because my mom has gluten issues now, and so it's just something that anybody can eat the chocolate fondue. So that's kind of how we ended up with that tradition.
Very nice.
I don't know. What about you, Megan? What do you have for your like Christmas meal?
We usually do a ham because everyone's like kind of sick of turkey.
Right.
I don't eat meat, so I always make mac and cheese, like a bacon mac and cheese. And then sometimes I also make a vegetarian lasagna. I did that last year, and like the lasagna barely got eaten, but we ate it for the next week.
Yeah.
So I always do but I always do mac and cheese. I have to have my mac and cheese.
Well, you could have schnitzel. Couldn't you do it with like eggplant or zucchini? You could probably do it with like with a vegetable. It's just like breaded and fried. So
right. Yeah.
So you could do that. And I think McLean did a pretty good job with the script. I liked the fact that these boys felt like actual kids. I liked the fact they're talking about Ninjago and talking about, they're alive. And like usually sometimes in these movies, the kids are like super perky and just like not real like kids. And overall, I thought the dialogue in general was pretty good, like pretty authentic, and like these people would actually talk.
But that was also my opinion of them as well, and I liked the whole family dynamic. I really liked the chemistry between the leads, and I really enjoyed that it wasn't it didn't feel forced in any way, and it didn't rely on any like type of typical misunderstandings or whatever. And also, I liked that it didn't start out with them like just hating each other for some reason, because that can also be a trope with these types of movies. And I like that it was like very, very friendly, nice from the get-go.
They had a really cute meet cute, I thought.
Yes.
You know, because the house numbers are all wonky there, and I liked it. He said, "My mother can sense if I'm not helping a woman in need."
That's really, really nice. One thing that confused me early on was that they established her in her a working place when she's working on the ornaments, and she has the rejection letters of the Heidelberg Christmas market up there as kind of like a in a weird way, it's just like a boost or whatever. And then one of them later on gets a close-up, and the letter we are being shown isn't a rejection letter. The letter actually offers her a booth at the market.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's funny.
I was like, is this a mistake? What is happening? Because you know it's written in proper German, and so I could read it. And yeah.
That's funny. Yeah.
That was really, really weird to me. So I guess somebody screwed up, or they put like the wrong take there. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, the most like caricature part of it was everything with the postal service, but I had fun with it. That made me laugh. It made me giggle. The world's greatest postal employee there.
That's actually the only actor in this I recognized.
Oh, really? You've seen him?
Yes, his name is Alexander Schubert, and he's pretty much in everything over here, like television and films, mostly comedy, some family stuff. I see him a lot. Like he has been all over the place in terms of projects, and he's like a common face in Germany when it comes to especially comedy. So he's always, for the most part, he's always like the it's a secondary or tertiary character in these types of things. And he's always really reliable when it comes to some nice comedy. And I thought he did a really good job in this.
Yeah, I thought he was funny. What'd you think of that, May? Do you think I was funny?
Yeah, he had a good comedic timing, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
And everyone can relate to a postal service, especially during Christmas time. Everyone can relate to like a gift getting lost or trying to get something to somewhere. I mean, obviously hers was more extreme, but
oh yeah. I mean, when they finally do arrive, you just felt
that's so like that's the biggest like the huge conflict of this film. Like will her packages arrive, and in what condition? And that's that kind of stuff is such a relatable hassle that you're immediately on her side throughout the whole thing. Like it's so, and you understand her struggle, and that's very well done.
Yeah, the whole solution of we're going to take these busted up ornaments and make like mosaics, that felt like that would take longer than just painting new ornaments to me, like these little pieces and things, but it worked. It was fine.
Probably, but it was also something that was the one thing I didn't expect. Where I was like, at some point, his work will come back into the story in some sort of meaningful way. And the way how they did it and how they combined it, that was something I actually didn't anticipate, and I was pretty happy with that.
Yeah, and I thought it was cute too, the way they have this whole like secret admirer element. And he's just like, maybe I got jealous that someone beat me to the punch, and he was cute. I thought that was cute. The dynamic. He was overall, I really enjoyed him.
Yes, he is. He's a really good presence, and if they jam together very well, like you immediately think, oh, they work so well together. I hope nothing bad happens.
Yeah. You want them to. They are characters that you're immediately rooting for. They're endearing. Both of them. He says, I'm looking for something that I can feel passionate about, and then she says, I want someone who's driven, so they both are kind of in the same sort of place, in their careers and in their lives. He was given kind of his father had retired. He's given the shop, and he felt kind of overwhelmed, I guess, by it. And he's not able to do his projects that he wants to do. But they didn't spend too much time with that. It was like just enough to like give motivation for his character.
I agree.
Yeah.
There
And-
wasn't like this big sort of like conflict or resentment or anything.
So you can tell us. So is Bell Snickle? Is that something that you had heard of before, or that you celebrate or knew of? This Bell Snickle, friend of Saint Nicholas.
I think they partly heard of this before. It's not really like a big thing in terms of like what what we grew up with. I think I was just like partly familiar with this sort of like a character who punishes the kids in a way. And of course in I think it's in Austria where they have Krampus, of course, which is a character of a similar ilk, which is much more well known, especially since there have been a few international movies which have tackled that character. So he's a similar type of character. But no, that's not really something I have any relation to.
Well, one thing that they've been doing on Hallmark this year is that almost every movie has something different, something unique, a Christmas tradition I've never heard of, or something unique. And so that was kind of this one for me. Everything with St. Nicholas Day and the Bell Snickle. He's very hairy, never takes a bath. What do you think of that, Megan?
Yeah, I thought it was cute and funny, and yeah, I mean, I had never heard of it either, but I didn't know if it was just because I'm an American or.
Yeah. It was funny. We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's Esther Hatch and her new book, One Small Secret. Step into the whimsical world of One Small Secret, where a dash of laughter and a sprinkle of Christmas cheer makes for the perfect festive read. Reuben Palmer is not only a Hotel Empire icon, he is also on every woman's Christmas list. But Cadence knows better than to fall for him. However, when a very adorable package ends up on her bed, Reuben is suddenly on her doorstep, wanting to be part of her life. Inspired by the classic movies Bachelor Mother and Bundle of Joy, this workplace rom-com is the perfect book to curl up and read with a cup of hot cocoa and your favorite blanket. So you can pick up One Small Secret anywhere you purchase novels or using our affiliate link down below. If I were her, I would be so anxious, just so high. And I'm not sure what UPS did to tick off Hallmark, because they were taking major shade at UPS in this movie.
And I mean, it's not the UPS. I make that clear. It's just a company which has the same initials, and that's also something that ticks off the German post office worker, where he's like, and you can tell that he is familiar with that because he has this dialogue where he said, "Yeah, I have another of these orders with the initials UPS," and you can tell that he's already a bit peeved off by that.
Yeah. Well,
and it's really, I really like the whole for just a bit part. I actually really like the post office worker she was talking to in America. I really liked that whole scene, and I thought he cut a really good presence and was very likable. And you can also kind of tell that maybe he's trying to get them kind of like maybe he has some relatives working there, and so that's why he's trying to boost that stuff up. Like at the end it's not his fault, but that's the big emotional stuff in the film comes from that.
Well, I mean, you have to buy that these people would be so attached to these displays that they pre-ordered that like not having them would be like devastating. This one woman who she ends up giving the, displays to at the end, this is just so like meaningful to her. And I can't tell you how grateful I am and all this stuff. I mean, I'm a collector of ornaments, and I don't know. You have to kind of buy that and buy, and obviously they're super important to her because they're her work and what she does. But the customers, that they would feel that motivated to pre-order when they're not there, all that stuff. You just have to kind of go with it. But they were so like meaningful and but they did a great job. Like, I mean, I assume this was filmed like when the market is running, and it just captured just the spirit of the market so well. It made you want to go there.
Yeah, I was a little bit disappointed by the establishing shots because it makes the market look kind of small. I was like, for the first time, this looks really, I don't know, it doesn't look that impressive, but it seems like that it's bigger than it originally seems. Like it's across like several streets and all of that. And yeah, because we have certainly like a lot of big Christmas markets in Germany.
Yeah. Well,
And
like, so we
this
had this
one,
other one called Christmas in Vienna. It was all that had the Vienna markets. And that one was not good. It was well,
oh
it was disappointing. Let's put it that way. But this one was a lot better than that one. But yeah, you definitely get that feeling. I really liked that whole segment in the chocolate shop. That was
yes.
really fun. And I'm like, you could have an entire rom-com just set around these chocolates that you give to your crush, I guess is the idea.
Yeah, that was actually something I wasn't familiar with. I had to look that up. I was like, is this real? And I when it shows up in the movie, I recognized the logo. I was like, oh, I have seen this before. But yeah, that's just something I really wasn't that familiar with. So I'm glad I learned something new.
Yeah, hey, there you go. And I also liked the whole scene when they're walking across the bridge.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Sometimes I get so obsessed with what I see is important that I forget what is actually important. That was a good line.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. How did you think, Megan, that they did with like chemistry between the two of them?
Oh, I thought it was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought they were really good together. Like you said, that the meet cute was sweet. Although I was a little confused about that number thing. I didn't know that about that in America, that every block is 100, adds 100 or something. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't think that's a thing, but okay.
Yeah, that's true.
I guess it's with certain
America,
cities.
I was like, really? Okay. But yeah, the meet cute was cute. Their chemistry was great. I thought they were cute.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of hard to sell a kiss this early, but the background was so good. And like the dialogue leading up to it, they're like, I'm learning how special you are. I think I found my muse in you. You're not like anyone I've ever met before. We have this understanding, this connection. And then it's not a secret, because they're talking about secret admirer. It's not a secret how much I admire you. That's great.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes just when the time is right, when the feelings are right, stuff just kind of happens. And I thought that was pretty realistic in that regard.
And I feel like that's what we're tuning into a Hallmark movie for. Like I sometimes and I've said this before, that I feel like Hallmark can be a little bit nervous to sort of lean into the tropes of the romance novels, to be like so outwardly like, it's not a secret how much I admire you, like they almost want to be taken more seriously than that. And I say, no, lean in, give us the cheesy scenes, give us the swoon-worthy romance, give us the dialogue like this. That's, for me, that's what I actually want. I don't want realism. I don't want like too big a conflict. I don't want people fighting. I want
especially in a Christmas film.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And so, and the kiss, I mean, especially with that background drop, it was a good kiss. I was like, wow, they did it. And she's talking to Oma, her grandma, and says, whatever you do, let it be inspired. And she has this list of all the stuff that her grandma wants her to do, Oma's list. And so that was very, very, very sweet.
And that leads to some fun scenarios without really detracting too much from the actual plot. But it also gives them an excuse to have pretty much like the sightseeing tour around town. And I think that was a pretty good plan. And also in terms of like the movie, it works really well, because that way you keep it visually interesting.
Yeah. So this whole thing with the Advent lights, is that something that you were familiar with? They had the 4 different days, and one of them symbolizes peace. One,
No, every Sunday is another Advent evening, and every Sunday you give you turn another candle, and pretty much like for the most part, when all 4 candles are lit, when Christmas isn't far away anymore. Sometimes it falls on the same day. Sometimes it happens, But that's certainly a big German Christmas tradition. I'm not quite sure with like what the candles symbolize. That isn't really something we ever talked about, but it certainly can be a thing for people.
Yeah, that was nice. I like that. Again, very cozy, very sweet, and something I was like, that would be a nice tradition, something new to work into the culture. And I liked the fact that he saw that she was sad, and he immediately went like, okay, how do I fix this? You know, that was pretty swoon worthy. That's what you want in a guy who's going to be like,
yes,
you're sad. How do I fix this?
and they don't get mad at each other. That's
Yeah.
also the wonderful thing.
Yeah, there's no like lame conflict.
Yeah, no like third act breakup, which I hate usually.
Yeah.
It's really, and it's, especially in a movie like this, you don't want to see something. Yeah, I don't mind a movie when, you know, when it's engaging enough that it doesn't really have that much conflict, because in real life I hate conflict, and sometimes I want movies to be better than real life. And
like
this certainly does a good job.
Especially this kind. And when she's so sad, and she's like, that I don't want all of our memories to be tied to that mess outside. And she's sad and says that I have no doubt that you will be able to pick up the pieces. And then he's leaving. He says, at least say goodbye before you leave. You're like, oh.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, Hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies.
We get this whole idea of using the shards in these mosaics. And and it was nice because it did combine both of their gifts, both of their talents. And so yeah, I don't mind. I guess I don't mind conflict if it's like resolved fairly effortlessly and it doesn't kind of, I don't know, it's just hard. Like writing is hard, and it's just this fine balance that you have to be of not souring me on the characters and keeping the tone. I think tone is probably an underappreciated aspect of any script, whether it's a Hallmark movie or anything, is like getting that tone right is, I think,
it's
very difficult.
Like certain movies kind of surprise me when it comes to like wrapping up a conflict. I'm always reminded of The King's Speech, actually, where there's a part in the story where one character finds out something about the other character, and then something that could lead to something, I don't know, like some type of like embarrassment or misunderstanding. And instead of dwelling on that, the characters almost immediately pretty much say, who cares? And they move on.
Yeah, exactly. Which is what you would do in real life, or you just like, you'd have a conversation about it and you deal with it and you move on. Yeah.
Yes.
That's true. That's very true. And he gets the whole family to help. So it's like this group effort.
Yeah.
Kind of
something
thing,
like that just has to happen.
It was sweet. And then you get this little scene of the dad apologizing for just kind of leaving everything, and Tim says that he misses working with his son. So that was sweet as well.
Yeah, no, just a nice wrap up to pretty much everything. And also I don't know, like maybe leaving it open for a sequel in a way, even though it doesn't necessarily has to happen. But I wouldn't mind spending some more time with these characters.
Yeah. Like I said, you could totally do a Valentine's movie in this chocolate shop.
I think so as well.
Yeah, and that would be fun. And yeah, what did you think about the conflict, Megan? It's just this whole sort of ending part.
Yeah, it was towards the end of the movie, because I was like, looking at the time, and I was like, when is she gonna? And I kind of knew that they were gonna come broken. Did you?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So
I had a feeling.
I was like, kind of like, yeah. So I was like, wait. I was like, when is this happening? Because it's definitely towards the end of the movie, but I didn't mind it. Like you said, it's like I don't want to dwell on it too much. So I think it was okay that it was towards the end.
Yeah. Yes. No, I agree. And so then they're at the market and everything's worked out and they're selling all these mosaics like that. and then we get another kiss, which was pretty good. And they didn't like dwell. One thing I've gotten really sick of in these rom-coms lately is that oh, we don't live near each other, therefore love is doomed, and it's like this huge conflict, which just always, it usually rings really false to me, because there's such like an obvious solution. You just move. Like, there's not a single person who would be like, I'm in love with you, but we live in different places, so that's it. There's no hope. And what they used to do in Hallmark movies was they would just expect the female character to just give up the big city life, because big city life was bad. So when she met the hometown hunk, she of course would just give up all of her career goals and everything to be with him. And that was bad. That was cringy. But now the solution of like, well, there's no hope for us because we live in different places, that is also cringy and ridiculous. Whereas like here, it was just kind of like, we'll figure it out. It'll be fine.
Yeah,
a lot of time dwelling with the fact that he was in Germany and she wasn't.
Yeah, no, we don't even hardly bring that up. It's kind of like, we live in the now, and let's embrace it, let's enjoy it, and that's really nice.
Yeah, I like that too. I like that too.
They also had jobs, or at least she had a job that, you know, I mean, she could make the ornaments anywhere, right? So it's like, and it didn't
exactly.
It wasn't like a job where she had to be in the United States. So you kind of had hope that they'll figure it out.
Well, it's just a lot of times too, these places that they're at are such like a, you know, it's interesting for movies that are supposed to be sort of not materialistic. A lot of times, you know, where the bad man of business for valuing materials is really like a bad person. But it's funny because a lot of times it's the material possessions that end up like having all of this weight and all of this value to the characters, you know, like the family home, the store, the market, the town, the village, the whatever, you know, it's the save the whatever. and whereas in this case, so that kind of thing makes it like impossible that anyone would ask her to move, because this wider thing that she's so attached to. But in this case, they didn't really, I mean, they loved the market and that's what brought them together, but it was really about the two of them and them finding each other more than anything else. And you're right, they'll make it work.
Yes.
Which is what you would do. And so yeah, it was cute. And then so the lady comes and she gives her box of samples, her display box, and this means so much to me, and so that was sweet.
Yeah, that's really cute. I think we could have fleshed that a little bit out more, in terms of like maybe have a little bit more time with that side character, so it makes the finale a little bit more meaningful in that regard. But I didn't mind it so much. But at a certain point, I was kind of like, oh, who is this again? Like I kind of forgot who she was, and then I remembered when they bring up her father again and all of that. I was like, oh yes, right.
And then Oma shows up, which was really fun at the market. So that was cute. She's there, and they give Oma the painting that they had that her great grandmother had done, that you'd seen earlier in touring the.
That was really like the big tear-jerking scene.
Yeah, it was sweet. And then we get a final kiss and our happy family all together, and so yeah, I thought it was a good little movie. I enjoyed it. I liked the leads. I liked the family. I liked the traditions, and I thought they had good chemistry. It was pretty well written. So I'd give this one, like, I think 4 out of 5 crowns. I definitely would watch it again. I think I would watch again. So what about you, Megan? What would you give it?
I think I give it 3.75.
Yeah. What about you, Lasse? What would you give it?
I think I would give it about like 3.5.
Yeah. Very good.
Should be. Yeah, I was really happy that they didn't rely on stereotypes. I was happy that they, they got German actors and actresses. They filmed there, that they spoke proper German. That didn't. It's not like, even like that's something even a lot of big Hollywood movies don't bother with. Where we just kind of like, it's kind of like this fake German or something, and then or like it's obvious that they just phonetically say what somebody is showing them on a cue card
I
or
mean,
whatever.
it's true when you have like Tom Cruise playing German with like no accent or anything. Like, I mean, that's what we get.
I don't mind that. Like when they just pretty much
Don't even
establish, hey,
try.
this is. I mean, it's actually funny in the Valkyrie movie. They started out with his voiceover while he was writing a letter, and he's actually speaking German. And I thought it sounded pretty convincing. And then it gradually fades into English to kind of establish, yes, this is about German people, but it's in the English language. And that's also a trick they did in Hunt for Red October with the Russian language. And I thought that was actually pretty well done. But no, I'm what I'm thinking of is something like X-Men First Class. Where at the beginning you have Kevin Bacon, and he, I guess he tries his best, but that's absolutely not a proper German he's speaking. That's just that sounds like just phonetically done. And in this case, no, absolutely, all authentic. And it was really nice that they relied so much on it, also on the like, I'm learning, I'm not quite that good and all of that, and that leads to some nice comedic bits. That stuff I really enjoyed.
Yeah, well, and I think it says something that it sounds like from what you're saying that like if you would be open to like watching another Hallmark movie again, because a lot of times most of the people that are really like tough, and they have their things to criticize, of course, but a lot of times the people that are really tough on Hallmark movies have never really seen any. They don't even watch them, and a lot of the sort of memes and parodies and stuff that you see are really more for the movies that were from like 2015, 2016 era of Hallmark movies, when they really were almost all exactly the same. And they're trying now to make each one at least have some identity and some unique spirit to them. And I do appreciate that. And so I think that it's always easy to sort of brush off entire genres, to be like, I just that has no value. Those are cheesy horror movies or whatever, cheesy rom-coms. And I think when you do that, you really miss out on, because all genres have highs and lows and good things to offer. And so I think that it's always nice when we can get people into our our little world.
Yeah, no, I'm really happy. Now I would be very, very curious to check out several more. And also I actually like this type of story when it's like in book form, because I recently read something that is kind of similar, kind of like the Hallmark version of the book version of like a Hallmark type of story. But I was a little bit weirded out by the constant fades to black, and that's of course because it's a TV movie and they kind of plan ahead for the commercial breaks, but that's something that slightly took me out of it, but I'm just not used to that.
And we should say thank you so much to everybody at Hallmark. They helped this to happen, because we had to get a screener link because you don't have Hallmark Channel there. So thank you so much to everybody there at Hallmark for helping us. And if people want to follow you, your podcast, your social media, all this stuff, how can they do that?
Well, first of all, I also want to say very much thanks for the screening link and all of that. Very, very convenient, and incredibly thankful for that. Yeah, you can find me on Facebook and Twitter at Lasse Vogt. My own podcast is called Fans About Films, where I talk with fans about films, go figure, and also about soundtracks and TV. And I do interviews with composers there. I have several shows there. And of course, my Christmas podcast is called It's a 90s Christmas Podcast. And you can find it pretty much anywhere where good and better podcasts can be found. And also the YouTube channel where I do some projects. Most of the podcast stuff I do, aside from the Christmas stuff, is not very like family friendly, West cursing and stuff. And like we talk about adult themes and films and music and all of that. But, if you're in the mood for some quirkiness and some fun, and also like some knowledgeable people who I talk to, and if you're a fan of film music, go check it out. There are a lot of English episodes just waiting for you.
Great. Yeah, we'll have all that information in the description. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. Check that out. And you want to make sure to also check out the episode that Megan and I did on Christmas Island. So we're just traveling all over the place via Hallmark this week. This is pretty fun. So check that out. And make sure you're following the podcast on Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast, all of our social media. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. That really helps us so much. 5 stars. And also, if you are listening on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Most of our viewers on YouTube aren't subscribers. And so if you're in that camp, please subscribe. It really helps the algorithm a lot. And then also we have our Patreon, which is super fun. You get a chance to have watch-alongs and Q&As with stars. And you get to be part of our Facebook group, and you can be part of episodes. It's just really fun. And then we have our merch store where we have a whole bunch of new fun designs that are perfect for the holidays, that have a bit of a Barbie inspiration. Me and our artist Jessica that we came up with this year. Plus we have our old favorites. So if you're looking for a gift for the Hallmarky, hearty, postable in your life, check out the merch store. I think you'll really enjoy it, what we got going on there. And thanks so much. And we'll talk to you all later. Merry Christmas.